Hey friends, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. I'm super excited to start a brand new Try It Tuesday series with you, so stick around. Hey friends, it's Jen with ChappyPlans. So there was like 8 or 9 hours of footage for this one video. So it is sped up to 4 times the original speed because otherwise this video will be like 3 hours long. I am filming our entire first couple of days in one video because I realized I have 780 photos from our Disney vacation last November. And so it's going to be a huge challenge being selective about what photos and stories I tell in this album. And I've already realized that I made a huge mistake in that I only purchased one 10x8 album to document this trip. I don't know what planet I was living on when I did that. Actually, the truth is when I bought this Star album, I knew I would use it for a vacation or something fun because it's got so many bright colors on it. And you'll see it later on if you don't know what I'm talking about from Ali Edwards. It's white with colorful stars. I thought it would be perfect for Disney, and I just wasn't thinking about how many photos and things I would want and need to document. So, all of that to say, I've been looking on like buy, sell, trade places to see if I could find someone who has the album so I could buy another, although I think I might even end up needing 3. However, I'm going to really be cognizant about the things that I'm adding as I go throughout the album and try to really pare down what photos I want. So I wasn't doing that when I was documenting the first part of this story of this trip. And so that's why it's so thick. Like my album is already almost a third of the way full and I've only completed 2 days. So that's crazy. So one of the things I did was make like a little intro page, if you will, with that gold polka dot transparency paper that I had from American Crafts. That's from my stash. And on top of it, I used this die cut plane ticket, like faux plane ticket. I got that off scrapbook.com. And then I used some die cut numbers from Ali Edwards to spell out 2025, and then some alpha stickers to put Chapman on the boarding ticket, like the faux boarding ticket. I also had a plastic half circle that says cheerful, trusting in this journey, which I thought was perfect for creating this title page. And then I had another die cut set of Mickey ears, and I added like a little heart polka dot sticker, and that was it. The first page that I'm working on now is I made in Diptyque. That's how I make all of my pictures and graphs and things like that. So it's like a little grid and you just plug in the photos you want. And these are all from the morning, getting at the airport, on the plane, landing, and then pulling up to our hotel. So I printed out, I've never, by the way, worked in a 10x8 album ever. So this is totally new for me. Trying to navigate this is definitely interesting. I'm not familiar with measurements or inside and outside the page protector measurements. I'm much more comfortable in a 6x8 album, but I knew that I would need a larger size for this trip. I just didn't realize I probably should have done it in a 9x12. And that hadn't even occurred to me. And now that I've already completed the first couple of days, there's no way I'm going to go back and try to make it, like I'd have to redo all of it, like all the photos, the sizing, like I'm not going to do that. So if I cannot find another Star album, my plan is to purchase some, whatever Ali Edwards has on her website in the moment, and buy like 2 or 3 of those, which isn't really what I want to do, but it's my own fault for not figuring out or planning ahead how much I would need to document. So I'm just using my distressing tool to rough out the edges of this tag. All these items are mostly, so they're going to be from everywhere, honestly. And I don't know if I'm going to remember to point them all out. So I will say, if you have a specific question about a product, feel free to let me know. I always say that, but just reiterating, you can leave me a comment or you can DM me on Instagram if you have questions about specific items that you see me using. But all the Baker's Twine is from my stash. I got that at Michael's. The tag is from a cut apart 12x12 sheet I got off scrapbook.com, and they actually just released a brand new Simple Stories, which is what all of these collections are for the most part. I think there's a little bit of Echo Park and a little bit of I forget the name of the designer. But anyway, and some of it is just like American Crafts items that I had from like 3 years ago, 4 years ago when we took our first Disney trip. But most of it is Simple Stories or stash items or Ali Edwards. Some of it is American Crafts items that I have that are like vacation themed, but not necessarily Disney themed. And I'll be using some of those things here and there. So yeah, just feel free to let me know if you have questions. Just embellishing and decorating, keeping it as simple as I can because there's so much to get through. So I wanted to add a little bit of sticker, just a sticker pop here or there. So I have a couple of word phrases I'm going to add. I'm just creating kind of a little cluster here on the side with that little faux luggage tag that says Love Minnie. I thought that was really cute, and the polka dots matched the paper. And then I have this sticker book from Simple Stories, and it says, I'm going to use some word phrases. One says Ticket to Ride, the other one says Let's Go. And then I have a whole bunch of these chipboard stars from Studio Calico. They were designed to go with different Disney collections they used to have and Harry Potter collections. So I've been saving those, and I will be using those in this album and hopefully using them up because I've had them forever. Then I'm going to pull out my Doodlebug Design washi tape. I love a scalloped like accent anywhere. I just love that motif, that shape. So I have a whole bunch of the colors. I'm going to use red, and then I've got a little sticker that says Make a Wish, and that's what I'm going to decorate of the picture of Nora looking out the airplane window. And then I have one word phrase sticker in yellow that says On Our Way, which was perfect because we are, and that selfie Nora and I have on the plane, and just a little faux polka dot tab to play off of the red polka dots. The thing that I was working on before I started embellishing the edge of this photo is just the actual boarding tickets that we got. So I forgot to get them printed out on the way home, but I did get them for the way there. So I just wanted to keep those. So I cut off the big part of the tickets and left the little part to tuck in behind. And I had this card that says Away We Go with the airplane. And on the back, I used a Doodlebug Design cut apart that says Magical Vacation. And I used it to make, like, I just taped them together and made a little pocket. And I tucked in our boarding passes inside of that. And then the mini ear die cut is just large enough that it sticks up over the paper in between, sandwiched in between this back side of the page. And I love that it's tucked in there and that it has the actual boarding pass from the trip. So again, this is another grid I made, and this is when we arrived at the hotel. And when you check into your room, you get to your room, it'll say welcome, whatever family, if you're staying on their property, which we did. It was Pop Century. And we went over, we took, we got unpacked, we relaxed a bit, and then we walked over because our room wasn't fully ready yet. And then once it was, we walked over to the Skyliner, and then took the Skyliner over to Caribbean Beach Resort, which is, there's a whole bunch of properties that are on the Skyliner route, and you can get off at certain resorts and, bop around and explore. So that was really fun. So we went there and we got dinner, and then somebody pixie dusted, which means like gifted. It's just like a nice way of spreading love while you're at Disney. It's called pixie dusting. Us a free drink. So Nora got this Mermaid of the Sea boba drink, which she really liked. And that picture of Matt and Nora is on the walk back to the Skyliner, back to our room. And then Nora in her bed, of course, with her Sully Stuffy, all and on the label sticker, which is from Studio Calico. I was just talking about how it was the smoothest trip we've had so far, going from, from New York to Florida, and then from the airport on the shuttle to the hotel and everything, just because like it's our third trip, so we had a much better idea of how things worked. And I felt like that the whole trip. Actually, it really felt, it was amazing. It was probably my favorite vacation we've ever taken, just because we really like felt like we knew the parks and how to get around and what we wanted to do. It was a little different this time because Nora didn't qualify for the disability pass. They've really changed the qualifications for that. So we ended up buying lightning passes for each of the parks, and There's different types of fast passes you can get. The one we got allows you to book 3 rides at a time. So it was like navigating that and figuring out if we were gonna what's called rope drop, which means get to the park when it opens, like even before it opens, because if you stay on the Disney property, you get an extra half an hour at the park before they allow other non-park property guests to come in. So you'd think a half hour doesn't make a big deal, but it really does, especially for like certain parts of certain parks. And that will definitely be a benefit to us, like when we get to Hollywood Studios and we want to, rope drop Rise of the Resistance and things like that. So anyways, I also had a bunch of little like hearts. You'll see puffy stickers here and there, and I always love to add those in if I can. I hope you guys saw how I sandwiched the boarding passes in between the front and back paper. And then on the side of this, I decided to just stamp out captions, if you will. I do this a lot in my project life, and I'm using these red puffy hearts to act as bullet points, and then this alpha stamp set, which is from Ali Edwards, to just stamp out, like I said, those little bulleted things that I want to highlight. So I am stamping CBR, which is the name of the resort, and then I'm using my Tombow Funosuke hardtip pen just to add a little bit more there. I'm just writing Centertown Market dinner, because that's where we went for dinner. The second one says checked in. The third one will say Little Mermaid Boba. The fourth one will say Skyliner, Boardwalk, and then Friendship Boat. And I did speed up the stamping to 8 times because otherwise, like I said, it'll be very long. I also always edit out my journaling. If I'm doing any handwritten journaling, I will edit that out as well. So I also wrote next to checked in, I wrote Such a Fun Hotel. Next to Little Mermaid Boba, I wrote Gifted by a Lovely Stranger. Next to Boardwalk, I wrote Possibly our best new discovery was here, which is what that photo is on the right there in that page protector. And then next to Friendship Boat, I wrote New Mode of Transpo. And then in between this page and the photo on the right, on the top screen, I am going to add in just the little brochure that comes in your room that talks about the little, it's like an Alexa, but it's a Disney device with ears and like an Alexa screen, like a flat touch screen. And you can like talk to it and it'll play Disney music, and it's super cute. You can ask it questions about your room and things like that. And it's almost like a little mini concierge. And so I took that pamphlet from the room, probably wasn't supposed to, but I did, as well as the door handle sign, because I had to, okay? I'm a trash panda. And it just has a little like picture of Sleepy from the Seven Dwarfs resting on a pillow, and you can put it on your room to say, room occupied, no housekeeping service required if you don't want anybody to come by. So I snagged those 2 things from the room, and I just added a plastic like pre-punched tab that I got. I think they're from Citrus Twist, if I'm not mistaken, to include those in the album as well. And I just paper clip them together with this star paper clip that I have. All right, so the second thing I'm working on is this page protector. These are 2 photos of the boardwalk, which was, like I said, our new discovery at night. You can take different methods of transportation to get over to it, but you can't drive over. Like, there's no parking. So it's really meant to be for people who are staying at the resorts or like local and know how to get there. It's just more of a pain if you're not staying on property. But it's open to, the public. And there's several really nice fancy resorts over on the boardwalk, none of which we could afford, but it was lovely to walk around and see them. I don't remember all the different names, but these pictures are taken at, in the evening and at night, so they're maybe not the best quality, but it was honestly so amazing to see. We hadn't been there before, so it was a new discovery for our family, and we ended up coming back a few times and really, really loving it. And it's designed to look kind of like a typical boardwalk. Like in the Northeast where I am, there's like Atlantic City, there's Coney Island, there's Seaside Heights in New Jersey, and I've been to several, so this definitely had that feel, including live entertainment outside, which we got to actively be a part of, not just one this night, but the other night that we went as well. So it was really, really special and memorable. So I decided that I was going to create a shaker pocket out of the top half of this page protector, which didn't quite execute, but it's fine. I got these sequins a while back on scrapbook.com and I hadn't really used them. So and I ended up adding in some red and yellow from my own stash as well. And I just used my fuse tool to close the top of the page protector. And while it didn't turn out quite like I liked it, I think it's just fine. It achieves what I wanted, which is to add a little bit more fun and sparkle. I figured just one long chipboard word across the bottom of this photo would do well. And I actually took this picture from the boat that we took back to the Skyliner area. So it truly was an adventure, which is why I love this chipboard. This is super old from American Crafts. Honestly, I don't even know how old it is, like over 10 years, probably. On the back, there are a bunch of photos that I took from our evening around the boardwalk and as we explored on our way back to our hotel. So Matt got chosen to be part of this like street magician, street performer type show, and he guessed that Matt was thinking of the actor Chris Pratt. So that's what that picture is. And then the same guy is going to choose Nora to be a part of her show a few days later, which is so cool. And he totally didn't remember us, which is valid, but you know, we were like, what? So they both got picked, which is pretty neat. Then there's a picture of Nora looking out the window of the boat at the view. It's pretty blurry and hard to see, but I love that picture of her. And then our feet from the hammock on the beach at the Riviera. Or is it the Riviera? Yeah, the Riviera, which is one of the hotels, and that's also where these mosaic tiled Disney scenes are that Nora's sitting at a fountain in front of. We just kind of explored the outside of the hotel before we went back to our room that evening. So it was just so fun. Our family loves to do things like that, just kind of be in a new place and walk around and figure out what we can find. It's just really fun for us. So then on the bottom I have this polka dot paper and this cut apart like giant journaling spot, I guess, if you will. And I was trying to figure out how to embellish it without it being too much and also trying not to take away from the pictures. So I did pull out my washi again, but this time it's black, the scalp washi from Doodlebug. I have this chipboard that says the fun starts now. And then I have a couple stickers I'm going to use from my Simple Story sticker book, a few black stickers from that Vicky Boutin American Crafts book, and then I did some journaling on there talking about all of those things and how just narrating what I already told you about in each of the pictures. So that's the end of our first full day there / travel day. And then the second day is all about Epcot, and that's what took up so much room already. I also completely overthink things when I'm embellishing, which is like because I'm a maximalist and I want to include everything and anything. So I took way too long trying to figure out which little teeny tiny puffy heart enamel stickers I wanted to put down. Oh my gosh, you can see I'm like tapping my finger, contemplating my choices, deciding which sticker size is too big or too small, changing my mind a bunch of times. Like that's just the way I am. Oh my goodness, it's so funny, but not funny, but funny. Let me know if you can relate. There I go, editing out my journaling that I wrote in. Realized I needed to add some score tape to the back of this chipboard piece because it's not gonna stick. So now it should stay nice and secure. There I go, adding in the ephemera from my room. And then I'm going to work on our Epcot story. But I think I'm really cute and I think I'm done. Didn't realize that I was going to need to add on like the rest of an entire day's worth of vacation in this process video. Otherwise, the series will take us into like Christmas. So, here is a close-up look in real time at everything I just completed. See, this is typically how I end a video. But again, like I said, I decided to tack on a whole bunch more content. So there's going to be a lot more pages after this one. I'm really happy with the way these turned out already, especially since it's my first time working in this size. It's definitely different than what I'm used to for sure. I felt and still feel very like, what am I doing? But that's okay. It's good to learn and to grow and to stretch. I definitely wouldn't attempt this as like a new scrapbooker just for me. I'm not saying that's my advice to you, but just the way my brain works and having OCD and being an over embellisher and a maximalist and all the things, I definitely am glad that I waited until now where I've had a few years of scrapbooking under my belt to really try and do something different and new. So moving on to day 2, which is Epcot, I have this paper from Simple Stories outside the page protector and this photo of us in front of Spaceship Earth that I'm popping up on some foam tape so that it leaves a little bit of space for the park map that you can get when you're at each of the Disney parks. And this photo was taken in the morning, not the first thing we did though, but I wanted to put it on the first page so that it's indicative of, this is day 2, we're at Epcot, we're at a different park. This is a different, different day, different story. So I'm going to add some tabs in whenever I get a chance, probably not on camera, but whenever I do my final flip through, you'll be able to see so that each of the days are designated by tabs that will stick out. So once I get that down, I know I had this little tag from Paper Person Shop. It says, "Welcome to the happiest place on earth." The color matches perfectly with the color scheme I kind of am choosing for this page. And so I'm just going to tape that on and add a little baker's twine for the bow. And then I have these photos that I selected. That's their selfie in the room before we left, a picture of Nora still asleep in bed, and a picture of her outside of our hotel room window that I had decorated while she was taking a nap that says double digits era. And I have these Mylar balloons. Now, there was a 1 and a 0 to represent 10, obviously, but the 0 popped. So I had to think on my feet, and I just had all these Mickey heads. So I put one of the red Mickey heads to represent the 0 next to the 1, and it looks kind of silly. It looks like it's, a 1, but it's okay. We made do, and Nora was really happy, and it was just a little extra something for her to be surprised about with our trip. So I have some die cuts here from Simple Stories. There's Spaceship Earth and then this little Mickey head, and I also reached into my sticker book and I pulled out some pink stickers. So one says dream, one says my happy place, I've got a camera, one says let there be magic, and then I also have this cut apart word that says the big ball, and I popped that one up on some foam tape as well. It kind of pops off the page and grounds the picture. So some of this might be a little bit abstract in explaining our days, like how they went if you've never been to Disney. So I'm going to do my best to try to give you a picture in your mind so that you're kind of understanding what I'm talking about. So once, we take the Skyliner into Epcot, it drops you off at the back of the park by France. So there's a whole huge park, but there is also around the world, which has all these different countries, and you can eat the food of that country, see some of the culture. It's really cool. So we were dropped off in France, which is where, like I said, the Skyliner brings you. And we decided to rope drop Remy's Ratatouille Adventure Ride. And we were really lucky because it ended up shutting down a couple days later for a while. Like, I think the rest of our trip or something like that, so that they could do some updates to the ride. I think they changed it from 3D to 2D, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I should probably Google that just because I'm curious. But we were able to get on it the last day before they had decided to temporarily shut it down and make whatever changes that they did make. So I have a picture of us in front of the statue that's in the France, like, kind of open area before the ride, the picture of the ride itself, and then I did some journaling, and I used a whole bunch of cut aparts from this 12 by 12 paper that I got from scrapbook.com that Simple Stories made, and they have a lot more offerings now compared to a couple years ago when I documented our trip. So I love that they have these park specific collections that feel more current. So then I'm just using the die cuts as well. And these die cuts are specific to the countries that you can visit when you go around the world at Epcot, as well as this 12 by 12 sticker paper. So I'm going to try to figure out how I want that to be all laid out. Now, I did do something which I don't always do, which is I mounted some of the photos. So if they're going to be on a pattern paper like they are right now on this side and the light blue side I just finished, I will mount them on some scrap paper just so that they pop and look a little bit more finished. It's definitely more of like an old school, I guess, traditional scrapbooking technique, but I really do like the way that it makes the photo pop off the page and it makes it feel more finished. So I'm going to put this France die cut. I'm going to trim down the photo a little bit so that I can have enough room for the picture to be mounted and have this 3x4 card that I'm going to spell out Epcot on using some blue foam stickers from Citrus Twist. And then I need to figure out how I'm going to embellish it. So I know I've already pulled aside my die cuts that I wanted to potentially use for this page. So they're all the ones that have to do with France, right? So there's like that little green hedge that's shaped like a duck. There's a croissant. There's the flag of France. There's a die cut that says Bon Appetit. There's the Eiffel Tower. And then I actually found this chipboard word phrase from Allie Edwards that says "C'est la vie," and I was like, well, that's perfect. So I added that as well. And then I'm just going to write my journaling on that little card that has like the fleur-de-lis print on it. I wrote about how we started out in France and that we were really excited to be surrounded by all of this architecture and just like how surreal it feels. And then I also want to include a sticker of like the Skyliner because that is how we got there. So I thought that was pretty cool that they had a sticker that looks just like it. And it says "in the sky." It's so neat. It's like a giant gondola, but it goes pretty fast. And we actually took it a ton. That was our main way of getting to and from all the parks. And at least the ones that you can, because the Skyliner doesn't go to all the parks. I think it only goes to Epcot and maybe Hollywood Studios. I think you have to take the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios or to like a new one spot, get off and then get on again to get to Hollywood Studios. And then for Magic Kingdom, gosh, how did we even get there? I forget. Oh, I think we just took the bus. We just took the shuttle bus, which is free and included when you stay on their property. So I'm just going to play around now with the placement of all of these extra little die cuts. I was basically creating like a little cluster. Like I said, it's very different for me to be working in this size as opposed to my comfort zone, which is the 6x8 album. So I'm going to go back and forth, trying to figure out where to pull embellishments from. There's this little croissant sticker, which I think is so cute, and it's ironic because I actually did get a croissant after this. So whenever I move on to the right side of this spread, oh, there's that cut apart paper that I've been using for documenting Epcot. So there's this little word cut apart that says "today," and I thought that was good just to bring in a little bit more of that teal blue that's in the journaling card. But anyways, I was saying on the right, it's going to be a double page spread where I'm using a page protector that's 4x4 and 4x6 configurations. And again, I don't think I've ever used a 4x4 page protector like pocket page. So it was really convenient to have those sizes already on that 12x12 cut apart simple stories paper. You can see it peeking up on the left side of the screen there with the little mouse that says Bon Appetit. So that is where I'm going to talk more about the food part of being in France, which is one of the best parts in my opinion. So I have this little, once I get these, I spell out Epcot with the stickers. The photo that is the focus of the page protector is 3 different pictures, 2 of Nora with her food, and then in the center is the building where you get all of the good food. So that it's called, what is it called? Le Hall Boulangerie, something like that. I don't know. I probably butchered that. I apologize. I don't speak French really, so you know. But I'm gonna punch my holes, trim up the paper, and then move on to the pocket pages. So there's the 2 cut aparts, like I mentioned, that are 4x4. One is like the Arc de Triomphe, I think it's called in France. And then the little rat that says Bon Appetit, which is obviously supposed to be reminiscent of Ratatouille. And then this faux postcard where I thought about using it for journaling, but instead I decided to add some more photos. So I thought it would be like super genius of me to create this little peekaboo feature with this cut apart because it's got like the arch. So I decided to use it to put this picture of Nora inside of the Remy ride, and you can pull up the arch part of the like, of the paper, and then you can peekaboo and see Nora right behind it. You can also pull up the whole thing that I secured with some Velcro dots, so that, you know, the page would stay down and not be like flapping all over the place and falling out of the pocket. That is another way you can look at the picture underneath. It's Nora inside of Remy's ride, because we did, like I said, have lightning passes, but the lightning passes are only good for like certain times and things like that, and we wanted to make sure we use them accordingly. So we were like, let's figure out which ride we're going to rope drop each morning at each park and which ride is going to be our first lightning pass ride of the day. It's really confusing unless you've ever done it or tried to navigate it before, but like I said, since this was our third trip, I really felt like well versed in how to navigate and plan out everything. So now that I've created the little flip up, I have to make sure it stays secured down. So that's why I'm going to use these little Velcro dots. I think they're just from Dollar Tree, to be honest with you. And use those to secure each of the sides of this paper down. And then you can see I also added the cut apart underneath with the globe and all of the countries, like their symbols, just so that there was something pretty to look at on the back side. Then I'm going to embellish the picture of Nora with her food. I have a label sticker from, I think it's from Allie Edwards. Oh, and the picture of her inside of the ride as well. Also, for all my journaling, I should say, I'm using these Grabie multi-liner pens that I'm obsessed with, and I love using them because they're waterproof and they are archival safe, so I love to write with those in my projects. One thing I wasn't accounting for was being able to keep the little flap in the middle down, and so the way I sort of tried to remedy that was by using this die cut shrub, and I only adhered part of it to the outside of the paper so that, you know, when you pull the door up and put it back, it doesn't stick to the, you know, to any tape or anything like that. So it's kind of like a little, you know, tab that keeps the door in place. Hopefully, I'm not, probably words are hard and I'm getting tired narrating, but hopefully that makes sense and you saw what I did. So I'm just talking about how we waited for the food and it was worth it. Nora got the creme brulee and raspberry lemon filled macaron sandwich, and I got a ham and cheese croissant. They are so good and gluten-free for her, which, not the croissant, but what she got was gluten-free, and she was so, so, so happy. So we ate and enjoyed that while Matt went and waited in line at Guardians of the Galaxy, which is Nora's first time riding. And there were a lot of firsts this trip, which is really exciting. Again, discovering the boardwalk area felt like such a huge win. It felt like a whole nother park almost. And then trying all these different rides for the first time now that she's older and was feeling more brave and confident. So that's what he was doing. That's why he's not in these pictures, poor guy. Then just for fun, I added a few chipboard stars. I don't like to put a label or a sticker down and just leave it by itself. That weirds me out. For whatever reason, I feel like the need to add the chipboard star as the finishing touch. So here's a closer look at what I just finished for our first day, minus the front of the page, which apparently I forgot to show you, so my bad, but you'll see it at the very end, I think. And here's see how I'm tucking the little door behind the hedge there? Is it a hedge? Is that what it's called? A shrub? A topiary? I think that's what it's called. Anyhow, moving on, the next part of our little morning is over by where Guardians is. So we met up with Matt, who was in line, and we also did a photo op as well. So you can see there's a big group in the picture that we're pretending to be like, oh my gosh, like they tell you make a face and look this way, and we don't know what's going to pop up in the picture. So that was kind of fun. This was the first year we also got the photo pass, and that was well worth the money. I can't remember how much it was. It might have been like $150 or something like that, but it was so, so worth it. The picture quality is amazing, and everyone's just so fantastic when they take your photo and everything. And there's more opportunities for photos as well. And being that we knew this was going to be our last Disney trip for a little bit, so we wanted to spend the extra money so that I could have some great photos to document everything. I realized, like, the way I'm using the flags for each of these countries, I'm going to say right now I'm an idiot and I didn't realize the orientation of them was incorrect, because the way they're oriented, whatever, on the sticker paper is like in a banner. But if you're just displaying the flag solely by itself, I think I was displaying it vertically instead of horizontally, obviously knowing that I was doing it that way. But then the colors weren't the way they were supposed to be, so I'm going to go back after I film and fix the way the flags are all positioned. So just a little note on that. If you're from France or you're like, Jen, that's not the way the flag is supposed to go, I get it. I'm sorry. I will go back and fix it later. So whenever I do my final flip through, like, of the finished album itself, you'll see that updated and fixed. Anywho, excuse my ignorance and stupidity. Moving on to what's actually happening, I'm just using little label stickers here to write captions for the photos. They're pretty self-explanatory. It's us with one of the characters who is supposed to be the Star-Lord, aka Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy, was walking around. That was our first time seeing him as well. And then I'm talking about how Nora rode this twice in a row because the wait time the second time wasn't terrible. And it was also like a super, super busy day because it was filming for a holiday Christmas or like holiday special, and we didn't realize that was going to be happening. So the park itself was packed. Anywho, that's going to wrap up this part of the story. And then my journaling about that is all going to go on the tag that tucks in behind the photo. Then this outside the page protector, I completely screwed up because I sewed the vellum onto the wrong, like, not the wrong, but like the orientation of where I left the pocket open was incorrect. So it's going to make me, it was a happy accident, even though it looks kind of funny because there's more negative space on the left side. Basically, I'm going to sew this on where the page itself is like, how do I say this? Instead of it being the original way you would use an outside the page protector, like 7 by 8 1/4, I am going to flip it on its side so that it's horizontal and put the pocket that way, because I don't know why. I think I was thinking that the blue text that says "This adventure filled my soul" it should be the top left part of the paper, and I just wasn't paying attention, so that's my fault. I completely did that wrong, but it's okay. I end up fixing it and figuring out how to make it look, look better. So I'm going to, this, by the way, this vellum paper is from one of the quarterly storyteller kits from Ali Edwards, and I just wanted it because it was, pretty see-through, but also had the pretty blue polka dots on it. So I'm going to use my piercing tool, go all the way around the outside of the vellum, and then I used some embroidery floss and pared it down so that it was 3 strands thick instead of the typical 6. And then I'm just going to do some basic stitching to adhere it down to the paper. That I am going to do sped up so that, again, it's not super tedious and long. So while you watch me stitch the vellum to the paper, I can talk to you about what's going to go inside of it. So there's a bunch of photos that I printed out to fit inside this circle. 2 of them, all I did was tape them front to back, and then the other 2, I used a little brad to make them swing, swivel open. And the reason I didn't do that with all of them was because I didn't want to cover up all of the pretty photos. I could have adhered all of them together. I guess I could still do that and it would be okay. I don't know. I thought it was fun to be able to like pull out a couple of things from the pocket, and that's why I didn't secure them all together. And the photos are outside of, we're now moving over to where the land and Soren is, which is inside this giant building. And so that's the first photo, and then underneath it is a picture of like the atrium, like the center of the building when you walk in, and the food court is really pretty. They have these big like globes and like balloon type structures, I don't know, and banners. It's really, really beautiful. So, and they hang from the ceiling, so I included those photos. And then on the back I just put a little label sticker to talk about walking over there and doing the living with the land ride, which we love, which are the 2 photos that I just picked up. Nora sitting, it's a boat ride, so you sit in the boat and it's air conditioned and it's lovely because your feet get a rest and it smells like chlorine, which we love because we're weird. And then you can see all of like the hydroponic vegetables and fruits being grown, and you go through like a little fish tank area because they raise a lot of the food that they serve there. So it was really cool to be able to see. And it's also a ride because it talks about just the like how produce has changed and farming has changed from, the beginning till currently. It's pretty interesting. And then we did Soarin', which is one of our favorite rides. It's so cool to just feel like you're flying all over, like above the earth, which is like just amazing. And it doesn't make you nauseous, in my opinion. And I tend to get seasick and motion sick, which is why I did not do Guardians of the Galaxy with Nora and Matt. And they were like, it's a good thing you didn't, because you probably would have puked. So I, did my research beforehand and stayed off of that for that reason. But Soren didn't do that to me. So once I realized my mistake of like, oh my gosh, I put this in the complete wrong orientation, then I have to trim it down and punch the holes so that I know which direction the paper should face. And I'm like, oh, I know what to do. I'll just add a little like border on the bottom to extend the paper, and I'll put a few, like, I'll make it into like a diagonal cluster, if you will. So you'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. Also, I don't know if you noticed that I trimmed down one of the 4x6 cut-aparts that just said Epic, and I taped that to the back of the circle so that it wasn't completely just blank and white. And then I'm slowly using up this scalloped faux washi strip sticker border, I guess, and I'm using that to kind of show you like that's where the pocket edge is, and then the soar sticker is reminiscent of the ride Soarin', obviously. And then I'm like, oh no, this is where I realized my mistake. I'm like, this isn't right. It should be the other way. You see, now I have to figure out what to do. So I'm taking the photo that I already printed to go on the backside to make sure that it's going to line up correctly with the photo I already printed, but then it makes it so that I trimmed off part of the word, which goes around, or part of the text that goes around the circle, which is fine. I mean, it's enough that you can still see that it says the memories, but I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to cover this up? What am I going to do? Panic, panic. So I found some more of this blue, like scrap paper. So I'm going to add that to the bottom to extend the page to the size it's supposed to be. And then, which is 7 inches by 8.25. So now I have to add this on. So I'm going to add it onto the back side of the photo that's going to be when you flip this paper over, and then tape this down. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? Because this looks, now it's all the way to the right, oriented to the right of the paper, which I don't like. So to offset that, I'm like, let me add some circles. So I have this cut apart that says the future is bright and epic. So I use my hole punch. One's a 2-inch and one's one, no, they're both 2-inch hole punches, I think. But one, it's not quite 2 inches. So what I did is I decided I was going to put the future is bright off to the top right, so that where it's not a full circle, you won't even notice anyway, because I'm going to trim it. See that? See, trim it, and you'll never know that it wasn't a full 2-inch circle. Then the epic one was a full 2-inch circle. So I, in order to take up more room on the bottom left, mounted it on top of this sky pattern paper I have from, I think it's from Hobby Lobby. I've had it in my stash for like 8 or 9 years probably. And so I decided to use that because I thought that was perfect for this story. And then I'm just going to go in and add a few more stickers from this 12 by 12 sticker sheet, including the light bulb. And that is going to hopefully make it look more intentional that I did this. But you guys know the truth, that I totally screwed it up, and it was me not paying attention. So but in my defense, I was watching a really good show. I'm watching the morning show on Apple TV, and I'm almost done with the 4th season because I've been binge watching it. If you don't know, I've been out of work for the last week, taking a break because of some crazy drama stuff that happened with our child. I will return when, the winter break is over, but I've had a lot of time at home to just chill out and practice self-care and try to make sense out of what's happening in our real life. And so I was like unplugging by watching this show, and therefore not fully paying attention. Plus Nora kept coming in and asking me 8,000 questions about different things. So that's my excuse. This photo is probably one of my favorite photos from the entire day. And so I made it a full page for outside the page protector. And all I did was take these puffy stickers, phrases that I've had in my stash forever, and I knew they would look nice against the green because they're just plain white. And I decided to pull the best day ever phrase off of it and put it on top of my ruler. Like, you put half on the ruler and stick it, make sure it's stuck, and then you can transport it just a little bit easier onto the paper so that it's straight. Although I totally screwed it up and it didn't quite work very well because these stickers are so old, they're not that sticky anymore. But I tried, okay? In theory, I tried. I probably should have just taken each one and moved them over individually, but here I am trying to be, fancy. I'm not a fancy person, so it was kind of a fail. But that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to add anything else to the picture. I might go, I don't know, maybe I'll go back and add some trim to the edge of this later on. I'm not sure. Okay, so then next, going along with this, are a whole bunch of pictures from the Moana section of the park. And all I did was take a page protector from my 9x12 album and I folded the bottom row so that it flips up and down, and that way fits inside of this 10x8 album orientation. I found the hi little just word phrase and put that on one of the photos with a little chipboard star. And I have my journaling written out that just says that this is one of the coolest things: interactive water, the mist, jumping water fountains is so fun, and that I loved watching Nora be a child, and that the photo pass op was perfection because of the large photo we got. And then you can see Nora putting her hand out and it looks like she's stopping the water like Moana does. And then the one that I put the puffy stickers that say hi had the Kakamora in the bottom left corner. If you've seen Moana, then you'll know. The super cute little evil coconut creatures, which are adorable. And then I'm just putting a few embellishments here and there. This was really easy, just plugging in photos and embellishing, kind of like just a regular Project Life spread. So that was really simple for me to put together. Took like 15 minutes in real time. So the back side of this is going to be the next part of our, I guess, time at Epcot, where we went from the way of the water and went all the way towards back to where we were, where there's Test Track, which is our favorite ride, and they upgraded it this year, so it's totally different from the last few times we've been there. And I journaled about that on this card that I'm decorating that says Racia. And I just talked about, we love the ride. It's very new, it's revamped with futuristic cars, and that you learn about the future of transportation, and it's split into 4 different sections. And then it ends with the best part, which is the 65-mile-per-hour speedway, where you feel like you're like going way faster than 65 miles per hour. So I'm going to spell out Test Track using some alpha stickers in this old Simple Stories book. And then I have to embellish. I have like a little flip up feature, and this flip up like page protector is from, I think it's also from Simple Stories actually. And so I have this, I cut apart this 3x4 card, and inside of the ear I put a label sticker and wrote Spaceship Earth, because the top photo is Test Track, but the bottom row of this page protector is all about Spaceship Earth and our first time being on this ride. So you can see there's a theme here at Epcot, right? Like a lot of futuristic type stuff. And a lot of these rides are much older and outdated, so that's why we haven't done them. But we really wanted to try everything this time, especially since our days here were so many. And so we got to spend like a full day at each of the parks. So we, talking about that, did Spaceship Earth, which is the iconic ride inside of the big globe shape, the sphere that lights up. And inside of it, you actually wrote it. I totally forgot, but when I was on, I was like, wait, I did this in high school because I did go to Disney for my senior trip. So it's basically just, you sit down, it's a nice, dark, cool ride, and you sit on a track, and it takes you around, and you can also like press the screen that's in front of you, which there's a couple of photos of that. And it talks about just how communication has evolved over the years, from literally like writing in hieroglyphics on cave walls to computers. And it's pretty cool. It's like a history lesson slash technology science lesson, sort of, in and of itself. So, and then at the end, there's a little like area on the top of the ride when you get off where you can play a few games and stuff. So that's what Nora and Matt are doing in that picture in the middle there. The flip up is just 2 different selfies of Nora and I in the ride together. So here is everything I just worked on inside of this page protector. You can see I trimmed off the left hole punched part, like the edge of the page protector, so that it would flip up nicely. And then it's going to fit right inside of this album. There's all different sizes inside this album, by the way, so we'll see how it all comes together in the end. Like, for example, here's just a full size page protector that I would use in a 6x8 album that I'm using to keep photos and ephemera in. So there's two big photos, the picture of Spaceship Earth, and then there's these spots that have these panoramic cameras and opportunities for taking pictures in each of the parks. We didn't do them. I think we only did them at Epcot and Animal Kingdom. We just forgot to do it at the other parks, but it's pretty cool. It takes this 365-degree photo, and it's a really cool like camera. You stand around it and the guy will tell you, or the person will tell you like how to stand. So anyway, that's what that big photo is on the bottom. Underneath the picture of Spaceship Earth, I put a bunch of photos of our little lunch adventure. So I have the eat, drink, and have a ball, which is perfect because all the food and wine festivals are always at Epcot as well. And you can eat and drink your way around the world, which we didn't fully do, but kind of. So there's a fry flight there, and then there's some wings there. And I just talked about how we had some Korean barbecue wings from Brew Wing, the brewing lab it's called, and then the fry basket is where we got the fry flight, and that we ate inside of the Imagination Pavilion where it was nice and cool and air conditioned because it was pretty warm. And so I just decorated the back side of this paper with random bits and bobs that had to do with, eating is my favorite thing. And the journaling card that says comfort food is an Ellie Edwards card. So I wanted the embellishment on the panoramic picture of us to be nice and flat so that it didn't add too much bulk. And then on the top photo, I'm going to add this chipboard word that says explore. And I decided to position the letters. Originally, I was going to put them straight above the top, but then I decided to position them around the shape of the globe, which I think looks pretty cool. And then I just added a little tab that I stapled with my tiny attacher that says keepsake. It doesn't make too much sense, but I guess, I don't know. It just worked. I don't have a ton of these tabs left, so I decided to just use that one. Although I did purchase some printable ones from Denise. What is her handle? I can't even remember, but she's a big contributor to Ellie Edwards all the time, and she's amazing. So she has an Etsy shop with printables, and she had a sale before Christmas, and I got a whole bunch of them. I just haven't even used them yet, although I do have the files in my computer. So that's going to be just this little flip up. That way, the reason I chose to do this full size page protector is because I want to put the magazine that I got and the little Epcot Festival Passport magazine inside of it so that they, I didn't have to cut them apart or just like deconstruct them at all. I wanted them to stay intact, so they're just tucked in the back of that page protector. Wow, this video is taking ages to edit, just so you know. I somehow managed to edit down 7 hours worth of full camera footage into just over an hour, so whew, but it took me a long time to do this. Okay, so working on one of my absolute favorite memories from my trip, and I talked a little bit about this in one of my Playing With Me videos, I think, or Project Life videos, I don't remember, but I bawled like a baby because I had a very traumatic childhood, and one of the things that I did have was my room. And for a long time, my room was decorated like Winnie the Pooh, and I had a ton of stuffies and like a Winnie the Pooh light and bed covers and curtains, even probably beyond the age of where it was considered cool or acceptable. I was never cool as a kid. I was such a dork. But Winnie the Pooh brought me a lot of comfort and was kind of like he was my comfort when I was in my room for lots of time. So meeting him, we booked it from all the way over by where we were, which was the Imagination Emporium, which is the other side of the park, all the way over to the UK part of Epcot, which is basically where you come in, like right outside of France. And we had to get there before he left his station, which was at like 4. So we basically sped walk over like a mile from where we were over to meet Winnie the Pooh. So I was a sweaty mess. Fortunately, we were in line in time before they cut us off. And so all these pictures are from that occasion. I just realized I didn't draw lines underneath my journaling. That's something I'm doing in this album I don't normally do, where there's bigger blocks of journaling. I'm just using a gel pen to draw some lines with a ruler underneath my writing. Anywho, so I had to pare down these photos. Again, there were like, I don't know, 20 photos from this experience where I got to meet him. I saw him, I lost it. I was trying to hold it together. I was like, by lost it, I mean, I was like super excited, like a 5-year-old seeing Mickey for the first time, right? Like so excited. And then the person, like the staff member who was helping him and kind of like helping the line cue and everything and doing the communicating was like, I was telling her why, I was so excited to meet Winnie the Pooh. And she was like, yeah, Winnie the Pooh can be very healing. And then I just lost it. And I started bawling. And Winnie was amazing. I think it was a girl, though, because he's tiny, but kept squeezing my hand, pulling me in for hugs, like rubbing my back. And I was a puddle, like a giant puddle. So you can see in one of the pictures, I'm like crying, wiping my eyes. Like it was just a mess. So I got all these cut apart pieces from the 12 by 12 papers I grabbed off of scrapbook.com. I think they're by Echo Park, and they have a ton of Winnie the Pooh ones. It was hard to choose, but I wanted some that had primary colors because I knew that's mostly what I was working with my older Simple Stories kits. So again, doing the same technique where I'm flipping up the last row of this 9 by 12 page protector from scrapbook.com, and then I just use some of the die cuts from that same Simple Stories kit with the different countries. So now, we're in the UK. I've got Big Ben there, and I journaled all about it on those 2 cards. The one that says details, and then the other one that has the Big Ben card. And that the red card there with the journaling on the outside that's flipped up is from Studio Calico, actually. I just needed like a neutral card. And then I have just a bunch of other ones I selected. They say the sweetest things, like, as soon as I saw you, I knew a grand adventure was about to start. The things that make me different are the things that make me me. And one says, life was meant for good friends and grand adventures. And you can see that I just added a few word phrases and little mini stickers here and there. It was absolutely the best and most magical moment ever. And I'm so glad that I was able to capture that in my album. So we're coming to the last few parts of our day. So now it's, evening, almost dinner time. We're making our way back around the world from the UK. We made it over to Morocco. And before we went to Epcot and before we went on our trip, I did a ton of research. I always do. And this time I discovered that there's this little air-conditioned lounge inside of Morocco. If you are part of, like, you have to get this pass, which is free, from, I think it's like Florida Blue, which must be the insurance, one of the big insurance sponsors or companies down in Florida. So I did what I had to do to get the pass, and we decided to take a break in the cool air conditioning, which was much needed after our speed walking trip around Epcot to meet Winnie the Pooh. And so there normally is like a mosaic tile craft you can do, but it was the end of the day, so it was about to, close in an hour or so. So that craft was like all done and it was cleaned up, but there was still like iced coffee and tea and water, and it was nice and quiet in there, and it was super comfortable. There were these cushions and benches, and Matt, I think, took like a cat nap, and Nora and I just kind of sat there and enjoyed our Starbucks. And Nora played on my phone because she discovered that the photo pass had like when you pay for it, there's all these filters, and she was playing around with those. So that's one of the selfies that she took that's in the bottom row of the page protector, was one she took. And then again, I'm so sorry, I pulled the wrong flag for Morocco. It's not Morocco's flag. So I will go back and fix that at the end of the video. Oh my gosh, please forgive me, please. The journaling cards, by the way, are from Studio Calico. I wanted some neutral brownish cards, and there definitely wasn't that offered in any of the Simple Stories collections. So here's how it turned out with the stupid, dumb flag that is not Morocco's flag. Yep. Okay. One day I'll get over it, but not today. Today is not that day. Okay, so moving on to Japan, where at least it's just a red circle in the middle of a white background. So really couldn't screw that one up, right? Okay. So I have the photos printed out in the Diptyque app, again, like grids. So lots of photos from Japan we had another photo op opportunity, which was cool. I'm trying to create a little peekaboo pocket and I totally screwed it up. So that's what you're seeing me mess around with right now, using another Studio Calico card that says field notes because I think it's a good opportunity for journaling. It's a pretty neutral card, which is why I decided to use that. And a bunch of the ephemera, again, from that same Simple Stories ephemera pack. These few pieces have the cherry blossoms and then the fish kite, and the flag is a sticker. And then I think, is there anything else on there? Just the word that says Japan. The different photos are from outside of the supermarket, which is, oh, let me pull out my journaling card. Sorry, I'm going to make some crinkly noises while I pull it out so I can read it to you. It just says that we walked over and explored, got some more photos taken. Nora picked out a toy from the little hut outside the department store, which, by the way, is called the Mitsukushi Koshi, sorry, department store. It had a lot of Sanrios, Studio Ghibli, Pick a Pearl, all different specialty items inside. So that was really fun to walk around and look at. We've been there before, but we just spent more time there this trip, like I said, because we had the whole day. And we also saw a special kawaii Japan's culture exhibit, which was really fascinating. So that's what the bottom two pictures are in this grid. Nora's sitting in front of the Melt Go Round, it's called, Harajuku Girl by artist Sebastian Masuda. And that was really cool. It's actually like up close inside. I think it's resin, but inside are packaging from all kinds of kawaii items. And then the picture of Nora with the little like vending machine things are native to Japan and probably other East Asian countries. And I kept the little, she got like a cinema roll one, which is the one she wanted, and it's still on her vanity, but I kept the little like blind box packaging that came inside of it, and that is attached to the back side of the journaling cart. I am almost done, friends. The last two pages of day 2 are inside the page protector for the 10 by 8 configuration. They came with the Ellie Edwards album, and the rest of the trip, so we're finally making our way back around the world before we go and sit for the fireworks. So there's Mexico, where we have to see go on our favorite ride there, which is the Grand Fiesta boat tour with Donald Duck and the Three Amigos. And then there's also a picture of Nora eating because of the Food and Wine Festival. She was able to have chicken tikka masala and a mango lassi, which is one of her favorite things to eat. And the card that says a story from right now, that is from one of the more recent storyteller kits from Ellie Edwards. And that's where I'm going to do my journaling about how we met up with a really cool group of girls. They were in line for the ride and then on our boat on the ride, which is a somewhat of a long ride. So we got to get to know each other a little bit and exchange Instagram handles. There you go. You can see the finished page in real time. And we ended up meeting up with them later, which is so fun. So anyways, this is the last part of this video. A bunch of pictures of us. We decided to do mission, is it called Space, I think? So there's a couple pictures of that, and then the other pictures of Nora watching the fireworks, and then we did end up writing test track one last time. So I talked about all of that on this card, again from Ellie Edwards, and then added a few stickers to the photos. One says Hitting the Track, one says Mission Outer Space. And yeah, it was just a really lovely, very, very long day, but it was just the best ever. I absolutely loved being able to share this part of our trip with you. It feels kind of exhausting because I know that I'm just starting this album and I have so much more to document. So I hope you're here for the long haul because I don't know how many videos I'm going to have to put together to get all of these stories told. And I'm sure I glossed over quite a bit of it just because, you know, there's a lot of content here. So like I said, don't be shy. You can ask me questions or comment below if something was unclear. I'm happy to get back to you. I also realized while I was doing the voiceover that I didn't underline all of my journaling, so I'm going to go back and do that now as soon as I'm done with this voiceover. And what else? Oh, I do want to mention that the girls that we met on the Grand Fiesta Tour ride, they actually own a small business. They're two sisters, and they have a small business where they organize girls' trips to Disney World just for the adults, like leave the kids at home type thing. And their handles are at the Disney Doula and at Katie on Main Street, I believe. And I have to get the name of their company. Give me just a second. Yes, it's Katie on Main Street, Main ST, and then the.disney.doula, and then their business is called Main Street Retreat Co. So if you're curious, you can check out that little business. I definitely want to give them a shout out because they are hustlers and they are really amazing women, and they made the trip so much more fun. And you'll see that we met up with them. We meet up with them towards the end of our, or maybe it's in a few days, but anyway, it works out really well. So here is a final look at everything I completed in this video. I still can't believe I edited it down from 7 hours to just over one. So I feel like I deserve some sort of small award or token or something like that. But it does make me nervous because, like I said, there's so much more to document. I'm scared. Pray for me and that I hopefully find another one of these albums. Although I know it's a really silly ask, but otherwise I'm going to have to buy some albums that I don't know, may not be my favorite. You know what I mean? All right, friends, that's going to be it for me. Let me know if you have questions. Hopefully, this was inspirational. And I know, like I said, that it was pretty quick, but like I said, feel free to ask away and let me know if you've ever been, what your favorite part of Epcot is. Is this your favorite park? It's definitely one of ours. We started our trip off with one of our favorites and ended it with one of our favorites. So you'll have to wait and see, I guess, for more details, but let me know your thoughts and your favorite parts, anything that you saw that you might want to try to replicate, or I think the term now is called scrap lift. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for allowing me to share it with you and to spend my time with you. If you watched the whole video in its entirety, make sure you leave me a little like Disney related emoji in the comments. Now that I'm looking at this, I think I want to add something to the left of the chipboard word explore because it's off-centered. Oh boy. Anywho, perfectly imperfect. That's what I am. I don't pretend to be anything less than my crazy self. So thanks for sticking around for my shenanigans. If you liked them and you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any more of my content or shenanigans. And leave me a comment to let me know that you are here. You can also follow me over on Instagram, which that platform is growing much quicker than here for some reason, but I do post things and share things there that I don't get to share here. So make sure you're giving me a follow over there. Thank you again, as always, for being here, Chappy fam. You guys are the absolute best. Take care of yourselves and remember that you are enough. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.